There are many ways that you could be discriminated against in the workplace. Maybe you're Asian or African American or Mexican. Could be because you're a woman. Or maybe the manager just decided that you're too old for the job. But what if you were discriminated against because of someone you love? Now, the LGBT has been fighting for quite some time to have sexual orientation added to Title VII. Now, I'm not an employment attorney, but I did a paper on this subject and did some extensive research. And I'd like to take the time to explain what is Title VII, who is the LGBT, and why sexual orientation should be added to Title VII, and the difference it can make in our society, and how we should back legislation to have it added to the Act. Now, first off, what is Title VII? Title VII is part of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 that was signed into law by President Lyndon Johnson. Now, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or the EEOC, was created to enforce Title VII. Now, in Raymond F. Gregory's book, The Civil Rights Act and the Battle to End Workplace Discrimination, he explains the purpose of Title VII as Title VII of the Act prohibits discrimination in employment on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Now, if someone feels that they've been discriminated against in the workplace, they need to file a complaint with the EEOC. The EEOC will review the complaint, and if they feel the class has been discriminated against, they'll issue a right to sue letter, which gives you the right to sue the employer. Now, secondly, who is the LGBT? Quite simply, LGBT is just an acronym for the community of lesbians, gays, bisexuals, and transgender community. Now, some people say that its name has been changed to LGBTQ, but according to the group's website, I saw nothing of this matter. Now, according to their website, lgbt.foundation, the LGBT instills values of passion, power, integrity, and respect. Now, in my audience analysis, a few of you were not quite familiar with Title VII, but 100% of you are familiar with the LGBT. Now, this should give notice to the great presence that the LGBT has in our community. Now, why should sexual orientation be added to Title VII anyway? Well, the audience analysis, a few of you stated that you felt it was already covered by Title VII, and I'd like to take a few minutes to explain to you why it is not. Now, it is true that the EEOC does translate the word sex as also meaning sexual orientation. And there have been some court cases that found in favor of the plaintiff in sexual orientation discrimination lawsuits. For example, on March 9, 2018, Harvard Law Review, a law review published by an independent group of students at Harvard Law School, posted a review of the court's findings in the case of Hively versus Ivy Tech Community College. Now, Kimberly Hively is a lesbian. The review quoted presiding Chief Wood as saying, Hively was discriminated against because of her partner's sex. That treatment amounted to sex discrimination. Now, this court case and many like it have been found in favor of the plaintiff in sexual discrimination lawsuits, but there are still many that are losses. Sexual orientation needs to be added to Title VII, word for word. Now, this is a cause that's just not fought by the LGBT, but it's also fought for by attorneys, politicians, and the public. We can no longer count on justice's interpretations. It needs to be in black and white, folks. And maybe one day, all Title VII will need to say, is this illegal to discriminate against anyone? Now, how can this happen? Well, first off, we have an election year coming up. Seek out candidates that are for adding sexual orientation to Title VII. You can also visit your local Centerlink Community Center, there's one in Greensboro, and find out how you can help to fight for this cause. Now, in conclusion, we know that Title VII is part of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and it makes it illegal to discriminate against in the workplace because of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. We know the LGBT is a community of lesbians, gays, bisexual, and transgender who are backing for legislation to add to the Act for sexual orientation. And finally, even though EEOC translate the word sex as also meaning sexual orientation, and there have been court cases that have found in favor of the plaintiff in sexual orientation lawsuits. It needs to be added word for word. And one day, maybe it'll be illegal to discriminate against anyone.